Hello everybody. Good evening everybody. Thanks for joining. I'm very happy to have you. This is going to be an interesting one. Ciao Matteo. Hi Matteo. Hi everybody online as well. Thanks a lot for joining. Very much appreciated. So this is going to be quite a bit of an interesting event. As you know, we have a panel of exception also this night. Prior to really getting into the panel and sort of the real conversation, we wanted to have a little bit of an exercise, kind of a check-in and check, seeing how we are doing. I see that 22% say confident, 22% very confident, 22% happy. Somebody is very happy, somebody is not so happy, maybe somebody that is cold. So this is a very interesting one, actually, to see for us the way you guys are doing and what we expect from you tonight in terms of interactions. We expect lots of questions. What we would like to do is that we would like to start for the new month, have a little bit of introduction about the club, what we do, what are our channels, most of the time our capabilities that we propose to the community, and a little bit of introduction also of the composition of our board. So I'm Paolo. I'm one of the co-founders and board member of the Business and Digital Transformation Club that is born in 2022. We are myself, Giuseppe here, and Claudio, and Riccardo, that is our scientific director for the master as well, that cannot be here this night. We are the board members and co-founders. We, all three of us, we come from the International Flex Effective MBA 2020. We met there and we never left each other. There's a few others of our folks that are following us this night as well. And there is Tanya, that's still not around, unfortunately. And then there is Natasha, that is our superhero alumni engagement specialist, probably you know, as part of the team as well in terms of the overall operations. A quick one about what the club is doing, what the club is working on, and a few updates that probably will be interesting for the ones that have been following us a little bit over the journey made so far. We launched recently the podcast of the club, but is also named Transformational. The motto is Transformational Experience, also named the BANI podcast. It is a 10 to 15 minutes pills episodes where we are going to dig into the landscape, the complexity of the business and digital transformations, and with that all it comes with that. So meaning that the leadership that is behind, the capabilities that are behind, the technology, the innovative startups, etc. We just began the journey with the Manava Plus, which is a super interesting reality that's happening right now in the medtech, that is combining the AI with the bioengineering to cure the spinal cord diseases and spinal cord injuries, which is actually also something which is extremely, from a social impact perspective, very beneficial. There is the QR code. If you are interested, start following us on Spotify, where we are primarily publishing the episodes. Another one, it's upcoming. It's a surprise for you, another small mini-series about leadership. So we really engage you with this channel, and we hope that you will be engaged in this channel. The other one that is the capability that's been recently launched by the club is the Digital Transformation Potential Index. So the club has worked on a indicator, macroeconomic indicator, that does summarize the potential of digital transformation when it comes to the key factors that I'm telling you in a moment, across the EU 27 countries, plus EU6. EU6 is a selection that we made. This is an interesting macroeconomic indicator suited for empowering whoever is policymaker, business person, or a researcher that wants to understand a little bit more how the overall landscape is doing when it comes to digital transformation. It is based on three primarily data sets that come from the UStats, so open data. We do leverage upon the open data for this initiative, and does aggregate that with a little bit of smoothing when it comes to the algorithmic part that we put together. The three major areas are the GBA, so the new cost value added for the ICT sector, the ICT sector's jobs, and the ICT job advertisements, all combined to give you some level of a glimpse when it comes to the overall potential of the transformation across the countries. In terms of curiosity, I want also to show you a little bit how the club has been evolving over this 1 year, 1 year and a half of operations. This is the fourth event that we scheduled. We have a community that is around 2,000 people. We had this year, or during the last 365 days, 32,000 impressions on LinkedIn, meaning that on average of 8 impressions per day, 18,000 unique reaches in 365 days, so still very remarkable, even if not as remarkable as the impressions. We reached 500 registrations over 5 events. Unfortunately, the show-up rate is not as good as the registration rate, but we are still working on that, on engaging the community and trying to make sure that we have the level of show-up that is going to prove as KPI of the club. And each and every event has brought us 85% of new joiners, which is quite a bit remarkable. So we have seen new folks registering to our events and to our contents. And 8% joined multiple events, meaning that beyond the goods, there are also the things that we like to improve a little bit, which is again the retention, so how we engage with the community. And that's one of the things that we are planning to work in 2025. We do encourage you to get connected, start engaging with us. This is our Linktree page. As you can see, we have multiple capabilities, we have multiple ways of engaging the community. There is also the newsletter. The newsletter is something very, I wish I had Tanya here, because she's the lady that is running the work there. The newsletter is a collection of articles, reports, etc., contents that we select for the community and share with the community on a monthly basis. Most of the times you find 5 to 7 articles with the summaries of those articles that give you pills of what we have been looking into. Oftentimes, this is also related to the mega trends that we live as a community, right? For example, the last issue was about energy transition and the advent of the nuclear power once again to the massive investments that the big AI players out there, namely Google, Microsoft, Meta, and Amazon are doing to re-up this particular technology that might be solving the energy challenges that we have. Today's topic, I will leave the floor to Claudio and Giuseppe that in a minute are going to introduce just a little bit of appeal. This is going to be on transformational leadership once again. It's going to be for you understanding how the leadership, and so as future leaders, for the ones that are not yet leaders in the corporations, has to be adjusting, has to be adapting for making sure that it is effective enough in today's continuously evolving, turbulent world that has many of the challenges, societal, one, but there are many others. With that being said, without further ado, I will leave the floor to Giuseppe and Claudio.
Thank you, Paolo. Thank you, Paolo. This is the last act of a year that was completely devoted to study transformational leadership, which is let's say, the leadership trait that you need to have in a transforming world. It was inspired by Professor Bernascone last year, and we got so passionate about this topic because we found it so important nowadays. We have talked about companies. In the last event, we had different companies coming from different industries, and we discussed the transformational leadership for each industries. And now we were discussing about how it's changing the workforce, how it's changing the people that actually work and actually build things. And we found that at the moment there are basically 3 let's say, trends that are shaping the workforce of the future. The first one is remote work. It's the fact that now we are all distributed, but it seems that this thing is not well, let's say, accepted from everyone. There is also a trend of people that are, let's say, forced to come back to the work. So we'll talk about what is good and what is not about this. There is also Gen Z. We will see a little bit of numbers later on. And Gen Z is basically the first digital native generation that is hitting the job market. They have a completely different way of approaching things. And we found really, really interesting talking about it and prepare our leadership style to work with Gen Z, because in the near future, there will be probably the majority. And then we will see these trends thinking about the BANI framework that we have analyzed. So what is the leadership style that is needed with these two elements in a world that is completely changing, and is changing very fast at the speed that we never seen before. So the big question that we want to answer is our leadership style ready for the future of work? Let's see a little bit of numbers. This graph is related only to Italy, and those are data, but they are similar, probably very similar to the rest of Europe. And those are data coming from the Osservatori, Osservatorio Smart Working. It's the Osservatorio connected with the School of Management at the Politecnico di Milano. And this graph is showing that, of course, in 2020 we had a spike of people working on remote. Thank God there was a lot of people being able to work from remote. Then we had the decline of people staying at home, and now it seems that 2025, the projection, it seems that people working from remote is increasing. Those data are related to workforce demographics. You will see that there are all the sources of this graph and all the data. And after the event, you will receive the deck together with all the sources that we have analyzed in the last couple of months, and with all the information that we shared also on our LinkedIn page. So you will receive everything. And as we can see here, in 2030, Gen Z will be around 1/3 of the workforce. This means that we will have to be able to work with them, to be, let's say, to motivate them. They are a lot lead by purpose, and we will have to be productive together with them, which is not, it seems that it's not so easy. Then a little bit of anxiety from the Global Risk Project Perception Survey. This is from World Economic Forum. It's a survey that they do every year, trying to map what are the perception of the risk of people. And this is related to the BANI world we are thinking of. And it seems that 66% of the people are worried about, interviewed by the World Economic Forum, and it's people coming from all over the world. 66% are worried about extreme weather phenomenon and from societal polarization. There is something that was never showed on the survey, and is the fear of AI misinformation and everything related to AI, which is business disruption and job displacement. And of course, there are all the fears related to economic downturn, inflation, geopolitical shift that we are seeing every day. So this is just to show you that every company, every organization has to live in this world with this kind of risk that are perceived from people. Now let's introduce the panel. And I want you to introduce Karl Nyman, which is Head of People Operation in Gofore. You can sit here, Karl. And it's coming directly from Munich, and it's working for Gofore, which is a company, a Finnish company. Good evening, Karl.
Good evening.
Then there is Professor Corso, we know it very well. Thank you for being here, Professor.
Pleasure.
And then we have Professor Bernascone, it's also part of the faculty and executive coach, and is also Professor of Leadership course, a very interesting leadership course that we did. I leave the floor to Claudio.
Yes, after that we have introduced the panel, I think we can start reviewing some numbers. Here on the screen you see some of the, let's say, statistics that we try to collect across our community. And one of the questions that we asked 2 weeks ago was, what do you see as the biggest challenge in living and working in remote environments? People in our community, or people that we reached to our LinkedIn profile, say that the biggest challenge is basically the biggest challenge is building a strong culture and career advancement and networking. So it's impressive how the field is quite polarized among these two being the biggest challenges, and not considering strong challenges, productivity, accountability, and fostering innovation. While building strong culture and career advancement are the top two, and almost with the same percentage.
Maybe we can analyze this.
We can analyze this first. Yeah. So we can analyze this first, and we can start with a question to Professor Corso first, since we know that remote working is one of the main, let's say, crusade that you work with, if I can call it this way.
It is a bit too much. And not remote working, by the way, but smart working.
Yes. So the thing that we can start analyzing here is how we can say that remote working and smart working can be considered as one of the most important innovation in, say, work environment today. And this contrasts a bit with the words of the Amazon CEO that is actually pushing his workforce to come back to the office. So the question that we can ask here is, what should we do, what the company should do to actually shift the perspective to embrace smart working as an important innovation aspect?
First of all, you shouldn't buy on Amazon.
You can elaborate also that if you want.
No, I mean, it's one of the real issue is that if you consider per se remote working, I totally agree that remote working can be a challenge to the building of a strong culture, especially in a change period. Unless remote working is designed in the frame of a cultural change that imply an exchange between autonomy and the responsibility, it doesn't have the transformational power that it can show. So we do have national data, and there are international data saying that having more autonomy in choosing where to work and in setting one own timetable, it's a push towards result-based management. So it's key if you want to have people more engaged and people feeling better and finding a balance that today are a very important issue. As far from Italy, we had smart working was, I think, the most important innovation in work organization in the last few years. Well, going back to 100% in presence work is really, I mean, it's really tough. It's we did a survey recently, and today people if they would be asked to be at the office, 100% they would perceive it as lack of trust, and 3 out of 4 would either change job or try to fight inside the company to reverse the decision. So it's quite tough, and if you look at the data, it's quite stupid. The real challenge is how I make working smart not an individual sport, but a team sport. I mean, flexibility should be designed, and the newer way of working should always be planned and designed at the team level. So if it is just that I stay at home when I feel better at home, well, I can lose all the pleasure and the experience of being part of a collective team. So if instead the way of working is planned together with the team, trying to understand what makes us feeling better, also in terms of social interaction and what instead is bad for our collaboration, well, we can use the flexibility, an even bigger flexibility, but that is planned at the team level with a shared responsibility of result. And this become, contribute to building a very strong culture, much stronger than you can have if you say, I'm at work because I push the clock. I mean, it's smart working is trying to say, I'm asked to develop a value, to deliver a value.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but you better answer a follow-up question that I was trying to formulate. It's about what is organizations missing out, not actually exploiting the value that you can have from smart working, not remote working, as you pointed out.
First of all, I would say that the concept of smart working was developed by our team working on continuous improvement, each, by the way, with our Finnish colleagues. And the idea is that if you try to unleash the creativity of people, trying to make them always asking how they can work smarter, that is not only where or but how can I use these new tools, these new technologies in a better way? And I'm asked to be, creative, to ask me why am I trying to be always ready to change. And I think that today, having this kind of attitude diffused, this is a key asset for a company that want to be able to survive change.
So you think it's also a way to adapt to the kind of society is adapting? I think we touch a lot on how society is changing.
Definitely, and do things where it makes sense. Don't just do things because there's a rule. This is a convention.
It's like the classic, it's always been done this way.
Yeah.
Exactly. Anyone that wants to add from our panel to some reflections to this discussion perspective?
Are you buying from Amazon?
Sometimes I actually do, yes. I'm a mortal human being.
I must admit I'm not doing because we don't have it. So
it works very well in German. But yeah, I agree that I was also very surprised that they now decided to call everyone back. I mean,
it's a very good way of reducing people. If you want
maybe that's the goal. Yeah. And we have not made such a decision at our company, at least, and we have analyzed a lot of data. I can come back to that maybe a bit later, but basically our employee experience results, our customer experience results, they don't support at all the fact that we should call everyone back to the offices. So we can talk about that maybe later.
Karl, we know each other since 2019, and you work for a company that is called Gofore.
Yes.
And it's recognized for an outstanding employee satisfaction. You won all the possible prizes related to employee satisfaction in Finland, best place to work, engineer employer of the year, most attractive employer on consulting, etc., etc. And basically in 2019, we were already having, we were working in Kia, by the way, and we already had the 2 days of smart working each week. Nobody was doing that because for us, working from home was like, not even thing was not even conceivable, but you were already doing it. And you are maintaining it with great result. What's the secret formula?
What's the secret sauce? A good question. Maybe to add to your presentation about the company, as it's true that we have won a lot of different recognition around our culture, our practices. But something that it's also very important to remember is that we also make significant money, and we are a very profitable company as well. So it's also that side. We're not doing kind of these things only for fun. Of course, it's a great place to work, but also we definitely profit of this. And what is basically the secret? Secret is that we have an extraordinarily high trust in our people. So Goforians basically, they can choose for themselves where they work, how they work, also when they work, if it's dealing with the customer, and this is very deeply rooted in our culture. By the way, when you said that we were kind of already doing it, and that this is also kind of a cultural thing. I saw your slide about how the remote work or smart working, how these figures have evolved over the years. So I think that before the pandemic, I think in Finland it was around maybe 10-12% of the people of the workforce were already working remotely. And nowadays, I think the figure is at least double, so we're talking about maybe 25% of the people that are working. And I bet that nobody is or the people are not willing to go back after they have kind of organized their lives in such a way. And what I said was that our employee experience, we survey our employees twice a year for the employee experience. So we ask them very thoroughly about that, how they are doing, what is going on, how do they perceive the employee satisfaction, and also the employee net promoter score and such. And there we see that actually there is not so much difference in the different categories, that if people are working from home, or are they remote, or are they doing hybrid. So it's pretty much the same. What is a little bit different is that those people that are working more at the offices, they do feel more connection with the company. So that is true. So we need to find, of course, ways of how to connect the people working remotely even more to the company. And here is also like maybe coming back to the Gen Z question later. However, the people that are working from home, they do feel then that they are able to concentrate better. So it's kind of it's better for their brain, let's say our brain, to work more from home. It's calmer. They have them set up and everything. So that's then the other side of the thing. And we are now we are investing a lot in our offices as well. So we are creating these neuro-friendly office spaces. So we are trying to get more of the same experience at the offices that people have at home. Exactly. But yeah, like if we then what is the secret sauce or secret recipe of success is that we have a very simplistic value framework basically at the company. So we have two values, which are that Gofore is a great place to work for everyone, and that we thrive on customer success. And basically everybody at the company knows these values. If you wake me up at night, I do remember them, and that kind of gives us the framework, and we talk about these values a lot at the company, and we also kind of act by them. And then of course then the other part is that there is huge amount of trust and autonomy for the people, and this is of course this is kind of the secret sauce, and that's how we live. And sometimes, of course, there are mistakes, but you know, it would be a much bigger price to pay if we would kind of roll back on this trust, and we would never do that. And our CEO is very protective of this value actually, and he's the first champion of it. So maybe those kind of reflections on the secret sauce. So remember, trust the employees, give or enable autonomy. Let's say not give autonomy, but enable so that people are able to work autonomously.
Great. Thank you, Karl. Your question, guys? Please.
Hi, my name is Adna. I'd like to know, I think you actually are able to create such a workforce or like values, to share these values, because actually you have a very good system of sharing the goals across your company. Because I mean, you have actually told us that you don't spot differences in the survey among who is working from home or who is working in
Obviously,
the company. I think because of this, because actually you don't need to go to your workplace in order to know what your boss actually thinks about where you have to go, because it's very clear for everyone, even the one that works remotely, that the goals are shared, and which are mine, and which are the company's goals, and which are the department goals.
Exactly, and we have created a tons of different kind of technological tools to enable transparency into the company business. So a Goforian would receive much more company information. It can be financial information about projects. Basically, like all information, company information is transparent. We are a listed company, so there are of course some limitations to it. But like the philosophy is that anyone can access anything in the company, and this is kind of one huge building block of this trust, that anyone can basically go anywhere. And there has, of course, like for example, we did have also the credit card bills. Like we put them online or in our intranet, that people can go and review what people buy with their credit cards. And then someone had bought 4 Armani bags with one of the company credit card. Good for Italy, yeah. And then there was a question in our Slack. I don't know if you know Slack, but it's basically our communications platform, which has been a huge thing for us, and we're using it a lot. And asking like the management, hey, what's going on? That you bought like 4 Armani bags? What's going on? Unfortunately, it was so that they were meant to be as gifts for employees that had been at the company for 10 years, so they kind of spoiled the surprise. but anyway, you know, this kind of, you know, anyone can ask anything, they can see anything, and management is being engaged a lot about different kind of topics, difficult topics as well, and we have very good discussions about any company affairs. And that's really cool. I would never work in another way in my life, actually, after experiencing something like this.
If I may. Thank you. Ilaria from GSoM department. The biggest gap I still see in this model is the way people in this younger generation can learn on the job by having a role model with somehow a non-formal mentor approach. And this is something that on the dimension scheme I can struggle to say. What is your experience?
You're talking about like younger colleagues in, yeah. So it is true that when we have now grown basically over the years, so we didn't actually hire too many younger colleagues. It was quite limited because we did hire like seasoned professionals who were able to work in this kind of way. And now over the years, of course, we have also gone through a transformation where we want to hire more younger colleagues as well. It's also good for our business. 2 reasons. Younger colleagues are a little bit cheaper than senior colleagues, so it's good for our margins, obviously. but also like new ideas and energy are brought into the company. And I think that it definitely comes down to like good basic leadership principles when we're talking about like leading young people. And we have invested in the past years a lot in leadership. We have a model or a role that we call a people leader, and we give kind of trainings for these people leaders and enable them then to act in those kind of ways that we intend to culturally. And but it comes down to this kind of individualized leadership approach. So we sit down a lot with, or the people leaders sit down a lot with the younger colleagues. It's about expectations management. So we need to tell them very clearly what is expected from them, because otherwise they don't simply know. And we are a consultancy company, of course. So many work in kind of solo consultancy projects, but we would not put some juniors alone to customers. So they work usually part of bigger teams. And something that we also now did recently was that we have a very strong management consultancy business. So we are trying to get more younger colleagues there. So we had like this kind of a academy program where we hired a amount, and then we designed basically this kind of a roadmap for them. How do they grow then to be or become fully fledged management consultants in digital transformation? So these kind of experiences we have had.
Just.
I was wondering why you do not consider trust your third value.
I will come back to that later. Giuseppe has a follow-up question, so I will maybe come back to that.
And maybe if I can add, you were already alluding to the younger people that join the company. And what I somehow start perceiving is that was in terms of training and upskilling, it used to be your senior will explain to you job. And nowadays it seems to be that there is a little bit of a friction in that, because the younger people bring some skills that older people don't have. How do you deal with that?
No, I think it is a cultural thing, definitely for us. One of the kind of cultural, it's not like a value per se for us, but it's kind of rooted in our culture. Is certain kind of humility, as we Finns are known of, and I think that because we have a technological background, right? So it's quite normal that people, not like seniors know everything, and definitely not the management knows everything. Rather, that anyone can know things, and it is quite deeply rooted, I would say, in our culture. So that's a very positive thing, I would say.
No questions? Because otherwise I can connect one on one.
I do have a question.
And see you.
Good evening. Hello, good evening. I'm connected from remote. Elizabeth Technostand Group. I am an HR generalist. I do have a question for Karl. How do you manage the performance of people in a remote environment? If you have, some kind of performance management. I'm curious about that, because, and I'm just trying to explain why I come from a corporation of 15,000 people, the former corporation I was working for, and I experienced massive smart working environment. So that's a kind of critical point for me.
Yeah. I think that's a very, very, very good question, and how we kind of currently think about it is, or how do we kind of measure it in a way is through customer satisfaction, and
okay.
We do kind of realize fast if things are not working out, and then of course we need to, for the people leaders, they need to engage with the people and see that what's going on, and then make corrective actions. We don't have very heavy performance management systems, let's say, in place, or kind of procedures. It typically goes a lot through kind of open discussion, open dialogue about what's going on. But typically it's kind of triggered from the customer experience surveys that we do, which we actually just released, I think, this week, and we have a staggering 65 NPS score, which is pretty much higher than most of the similar companies in our industries.
Please, sorry.
And this is not only meant for Mr. Nyman, but like for the whole panel. I was wondering your opinion on how do we kind of balance the social aspects of work and community with remote or smart work, because I find that in my personal experience that can be a challenge. So I was wondering what your perspective is on that.
Well, as I said, working smart is not working remotely or working in presence, but working where it does make sense. And one of the things that we learned, especially after the pandemic, because of course during the pandemic it did make sense to work at home, and there was no alternative. This is not the case today. So the idea is trying to challenge the team, saying, what do we need in order to perform, but also in terms to feel part of a team, feel a part of a community, and designing the social part of the interaction is even more important than designing the technical collaboration that in many cases can be extremely effective done online. So, for instance, during the pandemic, we at my company, we had to close the offices, but we had the opportunity never to close the canteen. So we had the aperitif because we had an open, and we were able to stay. And people, they had to work from home, like in other times they work with the client, and but being together at an aperitif and a meeting. So we should always think not only to the technical collaboration, but also where it makes sense. But also we should try to develop and design social rituals. And again, be careful, it's not everything in presence, it's also online, because it's not big. We tend to think that you can learn or coach if you are together in the same room, and not if the world is not like this anymore. I mean, being connected can be even more powerful than being in the same room. So, but for sure, the office, the space had a lot of experience. So the first thing we did after the pandemic was rent a village in Liguria, because we were nearly 1,000, and we went there for 3 days just to be together, to gain, because it makes sense to do this. And of course, doing this connected was not a good idea. That didn't make sense. So again, you should give people the opportunity to decide in the team where and when it does make sense to interact, to be together, but always try to say the individual needs, they come after. First of all, we're part of a team, so we try to challenge ourselves with what does make you feeling better. And for instance, we have some fixed days where you are asked to be at the office, but not because it's a rule, but because during those days you have the new people coming and you have to meet them, and you have the social things, but also the technical things. So again, it's designing the way people work, mixing giving individual flexibility, but also using a lot of the freedom at the team level. So this means designing something that works. Yeah.
Because from what I'm hearing, it's a lot about managing expectations and taking the context into account. when designing smart work. And considering that we now live in a time where we look at Davos and the big topic was like everyone has to go back to offices. I think the L'Oreal CEO was one of those as well, with Jeff Bezos. How do you think that's impacting the expectations of both companies and individuals, and impacting the whole idea of like smart work and, you know, having like in creating it in a way, like does it have any impact of, because you're hearing all of these things, and then do people have any negative thoughts about it? Do companies then get influenced by these topics that they're hearing?
I think that they do, but I hope that they wouldn't somehow, because every company needs to find their own way, obviously, what works for them. We do a lot of course, surveys, and we rely on data, basically, on our decision making. We don't follow Amazon, that's what they do, but we follow our own path. And I think every single company should do the same.
Agree. And well, I think that, as I said, we did a research on what people would do if, and we also did research on candidates, and while most of the candidates would not understand such a request. I mean, they won't. I mean, it's not bad to say you have to be in office, but you have to. And people, especially young people, they want to have offices and opportunities to meet. It's one of the requirements, but you have to explain why. If it's just a rule because I don't trust you, or because I want you to be there. I mean, today it's simply not understood, and so you are losing most of the talented candidates. So it's very tough, and so most advanced, especially in services where there is no technical need, it's very hard. And
you asked also that what do the kind of the people or like individuals think about it, and we did survey also recently like young professionals as well, and one of the major findings from this survey was that young people are very concerned about the expectations or of what is going to be when they are going to work in some company. And I think like some part of it is also like this that they don't have freedom or autonomy, for example, to work from wherever they want. So I think that there is fear. I think that is true.
Would you work for a company that says you have to be here at 8:30 and until 18 every day?
No, but I was lucky enough in my career to work with companies that really live the values of empowerment. So in one of my companies, the value was extreme ownership, and we could work from anywhere. We had flexible time. We could come to office, but no one micromanaged you. You had your results that you had to develop. We had OKRs on individual, team, and corporate levels. So it was a lot, like the flexibility was built in. So I've actually grown up in that type of environment professionally, and I've never.
What do you now? Yeah, this is the answer. It's quite clear.
So another question. I was just listening very carefully about the transition that we had pre-COVID, post-COVID. What's happening right now with this new trend of coming back to the office. Myself, I come from a position where our CEO, because of the transformation, decided that 50% of the time has to be in the office because of the relationship building, particularly when it comes to leadership team, right? Just in person is known people analytics that is less efficient, right? Coffee, oftentimes can solve real coffee can really solve a lot of things. Back to the people analytics, and probably this is for Karl. How have you seen a shift between people analytics pre-COVID and post-COVID, and what has been the game changers into this field? Because in the company, in our company, this is playing a massive role. In the last years, we've been investing a lot in this particular field, meeting expectations, listening to expectations, the people leader that has to be, 20, maybe
What are the signals?
Yeah. So maybe like context also from like what happened with us was that because we had like a free policy before the pandemic, so anyone could work how much they wanted from home, and then pandemic came, so then everybody just worked from home. What we did was then, of course, we bought them very good equipment for home, or at least they got like monitors and desks and chairs and everything, those who needed. And then after that, we have kind of continued. But this is not people analytics per se, but it's kind of financial figures. So we saved a lot of money when people were at home, but there were no communality events and things like that. We did also something similar then afterwards, of course, kind of a huge party. But anyway, the financials were extremely good during, and it didn't, like, the performance of the people didn't drop at one single thing. So that was kind of from the people analytics perspective, very a good thing. Of course, then there were things like, of course, mental well-being and things like that, staying at home all the time. So it's not very good for you. We have very nice offices and very good communality at the offices. So people were missing those things a lot, obviously. So there were, of course, some things, but in the big picture, we survived it, or we even thrived in it, because we were able to, or we were kind of smart working from the start.
Thanks. I will jump a bit and let also Maurizio come into play. We'll reconnect to something that you said earlier, and it sticks with me, and partly agree, like people in the company that work at the office feel more connected to the politics, to the culture of the company. But then that's actually leadership, because it's also a matter of how you lead the team, how you communicate the culture. Yeah. And here is then the question for you, Maurizio. So what do you think are the right ingredients to steer the team, actually to lead a team in these changing paradigms, to make sure that everyone feels connected the same way in the company's new settings? That's basically revolutionizing the way we work. It's an innovation, so it's basically, as we've been discussing so far, rethinking and reshaping something that we thought was well known up until a few years ago, and the paradigm that now is being challenged by the challenges that society got in the last years, but basically showing different ways. So also leadership has to change. What do you think, Maurizio?
Yeah, thank you, Claudio. Well, first of all, I want to apologize for my terrible English. Every day I work in Italian, I coach in Italian, I train in Italian. Of course, I study also in English, but I don't speak English every day. So actually, in this coming Sunday, I will be flying to London for an intensive training to catch up and to develop my English speaking skills, but today is Friday. So
you didn't have your first wine yet. Yeah. Wine helps a little bit.
Yeah, but I have to drive. So, Switzerland, 0.00. So, yeah. Well, I think you will understand me, but if you don't, just for my grammar mistakes or my strange construction of phrases or my wonderful Italian accent, so feel free to interrupt me, please, and ask me to be clearer, and I will try. Now, about your question, the first, I was listening to my colleagues, and I thought that the real paradigm shift was about to work with I can say ingredients than with recipes, because in this BANI world after the pandemic, what we learned is that the old receipts don't work anymore. Because once we thought that to build a strong sense of belonging would guarantee a strong leadership and high-performing teams. But nowadays, we are working on another topic that is not the sense of belonging. In addition, not on the contrary or on the other hand, but in addition, that is the alliance. And you know, the differences between these items is that belonging is grouping, alliance is individual, one from each other. And of course, belonging tends to standardize. On the other hand, alliance allows the exploit of the individual characteristics and distinctive characteristics. So you can make a sense of belonging only with similar people. But if you want to build alliance, you can do it also with different individuals and elicit their own distinctive characteristics. So we speak about Gen Z, you know, of course, if you think that the how can I say, is a generalization that give us good information, but we don't have to, we must not lose the single person. Because I knew all the young people and young old people. I mean, we don't have to think that we are looking for a new recipe to working smart, that is better than smart working. But we spoke about autonomy, flexibility, and trust, strong organizational culture. You said before, and you said that working smart is not an individual sport. Yeah. But we don't have to place in the same room to be a team. And nowadays, a lot of people, also before the pandemic, had teams with some team members in China and some team members in USA. So how can they face with that situation? With alliance. You don't put some meetings in some hour of the day. You try to go where the person is. And I think that I want to, let me use my notes to better explain this point, please. We know that the ingredients are trust, autonomy, flexibility, strong organizational culture, but these are known. What is less well known is how to foster them. And in the empowerment framework, we work on our aim is moving from fostering a sense of belonging to building alliance. And of course, now is we don't have time to go deeply in this, but we will in Italian. So I'm sorry, because here at the in our graduate school of management, POLIMI graduate school of management, we'll start next year in October an executive program on empowering leadership, where we go deeply and we show how you can do that. Because, you know, there is a model, there is a framework, then there is the person that has to put in action the model. And you can do that only with your characteristics. Of course, you can develop competencies, capability, ability, but you are the person you are. And being the person you are, you have a lot of characteristics that could fit with a leadership role in your organization with other people. And we want to elicit them and to help you to give your best in that role with your characteristic and our framework and instruments and tools.
Thank you, Maurizio. It was clear. It was very clear.
That was English, by the way.
Thank you, my friend.
Yes,
You're very humble, but I think it was actually
it was actually clear, and the word alliance seems to be great word.
Yeah, I was actually attending in London in this kind of enterprise agile coach training. It was some years back, and there it was quite heavily on this alliance building framework actually, and we do use those in some cases. But maybe what I wanted to kind of also say about this is that what we need kind of for this kind of remote teams, kind of hybrid remote teams, is psychological safety, obviously.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the key ingredient there, that everybody can feel like themselves. This is something that we monitor also very, very closely, because it's one of the major points basically in our culture, that people can really feel themselves. And this is no matter if they're Gen Z or millennials or whatever, everybody should be able to feel like themselves. And we, fortunately, we show very high scores in this. And this means basically that when our teams engage with the customer, we build a new team from our consultants, right? They are from day one very operational, very good, because they feel already very connected, very good with each other, and kind of there is this kind of cultural framework. They can be themselves. And this is very, very valuable, because they can deliver customer value from day one. And maybe, Giuseppe, you remember this also from our times in Nokia, that there was a contrast with our team and then, let's say, competitor teams, which I will not mention here. Yeah, but anyway, I think that's something.
It was a nice place.
Before you spoke about, before you spoke about transparency, I think that we have to act with a radical transparency.
Exactly, yeah. But you can do it only if there is psychological safety.
Of course. Trust.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you. Super interesting. I will stay very hour. Let's move to the Gen Z part of the event. This is a survey that we did on our LinkedIn page, on our community. And basically the survey is, the question is, okay. The question of the survey is, what's the biggest challenge in meeting Gen Z work expectation? Because Gen Z, they are different, they are a little bit different. They are driven by purpose, they give flexibility for granted, and they want autonomy. The result were basically on the same percentage for ensuring consistent engagement, which is also was my answer, because I work with a lot of Gen Z, and maintaining the engagement is not so easy. Balance, flexibility, and structure, they are both at 33%, and then at 22% there is genuine well-being support, because Gen Z people usually they care a lot about well-being and the fact that the company recognizes the well-being. and then there is 11% on providing rapid growth path, which in Italy is also difficult. That is a topic. I have a question for Professor Corso. Italian companies are noticing the shift in Gen Z. Is a problem? Is arriving? Are we ready?
We're very lucky because we don't have Gen Z. So one problem less.
Yeah. Good for you.
No, yeah, there's a big mismatch of a cultural mismatch, I would say, and it ends, I mean, in a lack of communication. It's very evident when, for instance, during interviews, because it is not even clear who is interviewing who. And therefore, it's not clear who is buying, who is selling. And Gen Z, they do have different expectations. We do survey with our, but also I thought next week we will have a workshop, and in preparation of this, I asked my colleagues to go in schools and university and have direct interviews and panel to try to go behind the numbers, the figures of the survey. And as a matter of fact, they have different expectations. They look at us grown people way of working and way of living, and they don't like us. We are not a good model for them. And I think they're right, by the way. The most important word coming from them is balance, and they want. I mean, work is not the only things in life. They are very different from what we were, the Gen X. They do want to have time for their passion, and they want to live, to feel well, and they want their job to have them feel well. And companies, they think it's too much an expectation. It's, I mean, that's that if the job was like this, they should pay in order to work. It's so there is a clash of vision and the massive opportunities for competitive advantage for those who understand how to answer a need that is not a need to work less or to, for instance, one of the first questions in interviews is how many days are you doing smart working, or are you thinking about full-time remote for months if I want to be abroad, or are you working on the 4 days week, etc., which is unbelievable for an old generation interviewers. But we have to understand what there is behind, and behind there is a very strong request of sense. Of they want the company to take care of giving sense, and they fear the fact that, for instance, another word was, I mean, companies, they want people that they want us to be competent, but they are not giving us enough attention and time to learn, and they have this anxiety about learning things because they think they are left alone, and so this is why they change a lot. They may change jobs after a couple of months after being recruited. That is unbelievable to us, because just they feel unsafe if they don't perceive that they are given the opportunity to learn something more. And instead, career, it's a storytelling that they don't trust anymore. Career rewarding is less important than flexibility, well-being, and growth and respect. So it's I think they're right. And by the way, we are on the talent market, and the customer is always right. It's us that we have to understand the new needs.
Are Italian companies understanding this?
I would say that there is a growing anxiety. I was invited yesterday to the HR forum, and one of the key topics is let's try to understand Gen Z, why they are different. There's because recruiting is becoming the so-called talent shortage is becoming a key issue. Most Italian companies, they are in a crisis because they are unable to grow because of the lack of talents, which is based on the fact that we don't. I was only partly joking. I mean, we have a strong, very strong issue with the numbers, and of course there is also a skill mismatch in terms of our education system that is inadequate. So. They are feeling very frustrated about the fact that there is not. I mean, they grown in a culture that was the culture of there is a queue outside. Now there is no queue outside, and instead they have to be interviewed by the candidates. So it's a big frustration, and they are trying to understand.
I would put a point that is dear to me, but also the factor of people going away from Italy, like the I want to point it out. So it's quite staggering.
But we are not competitive. We don't understand the need, so we may also try to give the wrong answer.
I've been living now in the Nordics for many years, and I echo Karl. Trust has been always there. It was way before the pandemic. There was the trust work from home. One was questioning it. And we can criticize. So sometimes I'm also the first critics on some of the paradigms of the Nordics. But on this point, trust has always been in place, and it works quite well. So, and the fact that now it becomes one of the value points that the Italian companies and landscape can't offer becomes a pointless.
And another is self-ascendance. I mean, we Gen X and millennials also, we are really cynical about the things, the society. For Gen Z, this is a serious thing. They want to be part of something that not only makes sense to them, but also makes sense to the society, so there is a positive impact. And again, this is part of feeling well, because I feel well if I feel myself to be part of something that is more than me and is positive. And this is something new for our employers.
Yes, time runs. Oh, okay, many questions. Please.
Thank you. I just have a question regarding I completely agree with you regarding the talent shortage and the education mismatch, which is leading to that. So I'm not talking about Europe specifically, I'm talking more of a global situation. Is the talent mismatch due to wanting of an instant result rather than people do not allow the other younger people to fail multiple times and then learn from an instant they want to succeed on the first attempt? Could that be one of a key thing to look upon, or is there something else which is actually a major issue which is happening there?
Yeah. Should we take a couple of answers? Or what do you prefer?
Go ahead.
I think that there's a problem with not giving enough opportunities for people to develop competencies and skills, and we are unable. Part of the skill mismatch is the fact that we are expecting skills that we should rather be ready to develop, co-develop with people. So when you hire young people, you shouldn't go for specific hard competencies. You should go for the willing to grow. And so it's under this point of view, we are still in a paradigm where you try to a fitting profile, and as a matter of fact, most of the young people today they cannot fit, and so they become anxious because they I mean, it's that they think they don't fit the request, and instead we should be able to say, we will develop the new competencies together if we have this alliance that we want to grow and to understand what the future will be. And so, in part, is a problem of, and I think it's general of the Western very specialized culture.
I think we have still some questions. Tanya, or the right blue one that I had.
Yes, please. So you mentioned this Zimmerman of instead of interviewing, we feel more like the interviewing. And you also said that it's being noticed, which is a good thing, at least doesn't go. But talking about the Italian reality, is there, I don't know if you have noticed, a fear towards this new need from candidates, or rather a tendency to understand and in order to support and resolve these worries, this concern. And that's the first part. It's what we have noticed, obviously. And the second part is always about Italian reality. I can also understand that this concern comes mostly from Italian-based, grown and populated companies. But what about multinational companies that have come here? Have they brought in their multinational air and culture, or have they been assimilated to the Italian way of thinking? So, yeah.
So we can split this question. So there's a part. I mean, because you have been working in Italy for some time, so you probably had this. So the second part, I think you can. Well, I really think there's a lack of. It's not a fear.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lack of understanding. It is a prejudice. The prejudice is they don't want to work, they don't want to be tired, they don't have this sense of sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
They don't think a job is everything to them. And this is perceived as a lack of interest,
Mm-hmm.
a lack of motivation. And also we used to play, I mean, the interviews was a play. I was saying what I was told by the manuals. Was just a useless play. Today, rather, the young they are very good. They do a lot. New candidates, they do a massive number of interviews, and they are genuinely trying to understand. So they make questions, and they want to be themselves because they want to be sure that once they are selected, they can be themselves, which is, I think, great. But of course, I mean, I see people coming. It's because they want to be themselves, and you have to be more than happy that you are interviewing someone that wants to be genuine. The same part is for you.
Yeah, I have done tons of interviews as well with different kind of demographics, obviously, and it's like how we kind of somehow engage with the candidates it's a very kind of authentic and genuine way. So there is like no hierarchy, basically. It's kind of two friends talking, basically. So it's quite nice experience for us as interviewers, but also for the candidates. Something that is also like very interesting is that they do their research. So they go into the website. They really read our cultural booklets. They really like look at the videos that we have there, and they really kind of trying to understand that what is the truth what is the real thing? Because there is a lot of how to say, like, dishonesty, I would say, around employer branding, for example.
Yeah.
There's a lot. But we have gotten a really nice feedback, which I'm personally super proud of, is that when they come to us, they start working with us, then they get surprised that, wow, that it's exactly how you said it would be. Imagine that they come like skeptical because they still don't trust, right, really, that this is so. And then they come and give us this feedback, and it feels like super good. Obviously, then it means that we have really succeeded in what we do, like this trust and autonomy and everything. But the second part I already forgot what it was. So can you repeat it, please?
If you adapt it to the culture, or you tried to give a more international culture. So how was
the context that we were working with Giuseppe was that it was definitely an international company. We had different nationalities there. We had some Finns, we had some Italians, we had some from India or so on. And of course that, like, there was this kind of multinational companies have multinational company culture, so they are kind of already. And but I would say that it was a very sweet mix of this kind of local Italian style. I enjoyed it tremendously. By the way, thank you for the experience. But then also like this, like, multinational. Definitely, Nokia had and has Finnish roots, Nordic roots. There were certain things that, of course, were in place. And at that time, there was also a huge transformation ongoing, whereas they had acquired a French company. Any French people here, by the way? Well, it was difficult, I would say. And so, like, these kind of a lot of forces into play. I don't know if there is any kind of specific answer to your question here, but definitely it's like a mix. And how do you kind of then let's say lead this thing? And that's of course an interesting question, and you have to make, or have to use a lot of effort, obviously, to try to understand everything and engage with the people and try to kind of create that kind of common understanding about what it is and how we should work as a team. It goes like this. You have to talk basically and listen even more and talk.
I have one more question. Going back to the talent shortage, because you've mentioned how there's a talent shortage, and I don't know how it is here, but for example, back home or with some of my international friends who are living in the US, companies are complaining about a talent shortage. On the other hand, there has never been more jobs on LinkedIn, and people keep applying, keep going through the rounds of interviews, and it's impossible to find a job. Like, I've had multiple friends who've gone through 8 rounds of interview with tens of different companies, and it's like, oh, we found a better fit. Just what's your perspective on that side of, like, from the candidate's view? Because one, they're saying, like, yes, okay, there's a talent shortage, and then the candidates are kind of like, I keep applying, but nothing's happening.
Yeah, I mean, in Finland, I guess it's a little bit similar situation than in Italy, that the population is getting older and older, and not enough babies are born. So it's an unfortunate situation, and we have a huge structural problem there. It is that it simply doesn't match. But specifically to this question that you have, when looking kind of from the company side, so we have like specific projects which require very specific skills, for example, and of course some of those skills are very kind of hard that we need to kind of have that from, because we cannot put any people to the customer just learn it from day one. In some cases we can obviously like do it, but in some cases we basically can't. So we need to have these in place. With this said, how we think about professional development is that it kind of 90% of it happens, or 95%, or like huge portion of it happens at the job. So it's not like that they go on they take some online training. Of course, that reinforces things, but that's basically how we learn, is that we actually do the job, and then, well, we need to fail as well to learn as well, and we need to enable this. And what I see, like, we haven't been, I think, super good in this. I'm being very honest, but we weren't courageous enough, maybe, to suggest to the customer that, hey, here is like someone that is 70% of it to your need, and then we need to sell it. But we are in a business where we kind of compete, then that if competitor has a 90% fit, so then we probably lose. But okay, then we can play with something else, and we need to innovate as a company to kind of solve this. We need to provide the customer different kind of solutions where then also the people and the people that we hire can match those expectations of the customer and thrive in the customer environment as well.
I may add something. I mean, the labor market changed a lot in the last couple of years. I would say that it's more a candidate. I mean, there's a shortage of candidates from demographic point of view, but there's another phenomenon that it is a much fluid market. Now you can recruit people in a much larger perimeter. You could, for a certain position, you could have people from US, UK, France. In many competitive industries, there was an enlargement. Before, you competed for a local market. Now the market is global, especially for IT talents. That is where you compete. You are competing in a completely, so it's open sea, and more opportunities and more competition. On average, I would say, at least in Italy and Europe, there's a big shortage. In the US, they are in a little bit in a different. In this moment, they are a little bit in the feeling that is they can optimize, and so that there is more offer of many. But generally speaking, I would say that for people like you that are in the digital labor market, there's a huge number of opportunities worldwide. So it's and then it's very competitive. Yes.
Yeah. But also more options for you, I guess.
Yeah.
And we've built our economy on the IT talent, so yeah, it's getting very.
So I have a question. So this is somewhat related to what you said earlier. So there was an interesting point that you made, that there's a problem of a gap between the education system in Italy and the skill set that companies require to hire, and there is a problem of brain drain in Italy. That's something very interesting to me, because this is what we've learned in our school times, that India is facing the same problem, and that's something we've been seeing for a very long time. In fact, 1 or 2 years this is the time period that reverse migration is happening because of the global recession that made before, and India is probably one of the few countries that is still growing rapidly. So according to you, which are the countries that are still going well according to the scenario that you presented for the brain drain?
The countries.
Yeah, because Italians are going, so which countries are they going to? And because this is a global scenario. So because this is
very tough. I mean, if you consider if you compare Italy and France, for instance, they are in a completely different situation in demographic terms. Or Italy and UK. If you think of India is on the one hand, India is the superpower, the demographic superpower, and also the skill superpower. But of course, they are also the more exposed to competition and to innovation. For instance, I'm not worried at all for AI substituting people, because it's, I hope, because it's for Italy, it's one of the, if you look at the potential impact, the exposure of the Indian labor market to innovation, but it's tough. It has to be managed much more carefully. And then, of course, there's this fluidity that we are not, I mean, separated. At least in a couple of years ago, we thought there was no separation. Today, it's unclear whether we are still global or there are new frontiers that are emerging. But still, I think that countries like India, there's a completely different situation.
Maurizio, do you want to add some closing remarks before this?
Just one point.
Yeah, please.
Because speaking about the Gen Z, I think that one of the points is also not only what they do, and just because I think that is how they want to work. Because they work as an entire person, not just as a role with a job title and a job description. That's why they want to have more flexibility, because they leave the job in an entire way when they work. Then the word was balancing your research.
Yeah.
Then they won't have time to manage the rest of their lives in the same way, with 100% of themselves. It's not that they want just to put the job in an angle of their life. No, they want to leave it 100%, but they want to do the same on the rest of their lives. We didn't in the past. So I think that is a new way to look at the work, and AE. I'm not afraid about AE, because every job that a machine can do is better that the machine does it, because the people can have to lead the work and to put the best they have. That is not the power of calculation or something like that, of course. Is the purpose, is the meaning of the work. And I think that Gen Z are connected with these topics.
So I think we could stay here and really go on with these topics for the 3 hours. And I really wish so. What I can encourage you to do is instead to write your questions in the chat or sending us emails with the contacts that you have. It would be actually cool to engage these topics also on our LinkedIn channel. We will post about this event, so everyone will have reminders. And you can have your questions also posted below, and us, together with our speakers, try to answer to those that have not been answered during these last 2 hours.
Thank you to the panelists.
Thank you.
Stay with us also over time. We really appreciate also the engagement of the community. Personally, I think I really like the engagement of this audience, online and offline. I think it was great. Thanks.
Thank you.
It's been a fantastic opportunity. Thanks a lot.